Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for November 12th, 2024. Well, my goodness, those bulls just continue to celebrate and celebrate, pushing higher and higher in the market. We have a little bit of an indication that we might be starting to slow that run to the upside down just a little bit. But we also have a lot of data coming our way that could have a major influence on this throughout the rest of the week. So, what happened overnight? Well, first off, let's take a look at those Asian markets. Asian markets were down across the board last night, with India was down 1.07%, Hong Kong was down 2.84%, Shanghai down 1.39%. So, pretty Australia, the Nikkei was down. So South Korea was also down across the board here in those Asian markets. European markets this morning are also looking at some red. We've got European markets with the DAX down 0.86%, FTSE is down 0.96%, and the CAC is down 1.27% this morning, looking a little bit on the bearish side there. And then, of course, here in the United States, we were down overnight, but they're trying to push these indexes back into the green here heading into the open. It seems to be the common practice anymore. We pump it up into the pre-market, but right now we've got the Dow down 0.07% or 29 points. S&P 500 futures are essentially flat, down 0.16% or $9.50, and NASDAQ futures might be taking it the worst, down $33 or 0.16% at the morning open, or at least at the moment, and I'm recording this quite early. If we were to take a look at oil here this morning, oil had a really rough day yesterday, but what was interesting is oil producer stocks continued to move higher. But this morning we have oil trying to bounce back up just a little tiny bit. We've got oil up at 65 cents a barrel at 68.69. We have Brent up $64 a barrel at 72.47. And natural gas is reversing a little bit of that big move to the upside yesterday, in that with just a little bit of rest and down just a tiny little bit here this morning. Now, precious metals had a really tough day yesterday and pushing back, and they are falling again this morning. Gold down $16.40 an ounce at the moment. We've got silver down here this morning as well. If you take a look at silver, it's been falling. Copper has been falling. Take a look at COPX. And we've got platinum and palladium also lower here on the day. So those precious metals continue to fall. However, that is not the case here for Bitcoin and cryptos. When we take a look at Bitcoin, huge move up yesterday, over $7,000 a coin on Bitcoin. But this morning we're getting a little pullback right now, down at just $100 a coin. Ether down 62 a coin, and mostly lower on those cryptos here this morning, with XRP actually up 0.02%. 2 cents. If we were to take a look at those bond yields, we're going to be dealing with those bond yields again this morning as we continue to see the U.S. dollar strengthening here, stretching up to some new resistance here in the chart and gapping again today, with the 2-year bonds pushing up to 4.31%, the 10-year bonds 4.36%, and the 30-year bonds 4.51%. It does make you wonder how much longer we can have the zoomies in the market when we continue to see rates going up. And of course, the worry of pending data that will be out Wednesday and Thursday with the CPI and PPI inflation data. So Watch those numbers pretty closely. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these charts without a bias. We want to look at them for what they are, not for what we want them to be. So first off, yesterday, one of the most notable things in here that we saw yesterday is just a really big bullish push and new record highs in the indexes. And as you can see, that diamonds ended up leaving behind a bit of a shooting star type pattern. Now, shooting star type patterns don't really mean all that much unless there is some kind of a follow through to the downside. So we would need to break that down just a little bit to have that shooting star come into play. It could also end up being more of just the beginning of a consolidating or resting pattern here in the market after that big zooming move. But that being said, if we find inspiration here for those bears to push, the first place I would look for is a break of yesterday's low. And then, of course, we have a big gap here that could be filled if that were the case. So could be some big point moves on a pullback. Now, breaking down below that gap puts us right back down into here in the chart, and you can see those progressive levels as we move on down. And that would be pretty substantial point move. So make sure you're planning carefully here on the day. Particularly with the data that we've got coming in the next couple. Then if we take a look at the bullish side of things, if the bulls can find inspiration here today, well, obviously we need to try and break that high. And then we have new record highs and blue sky above for those bulls to work on. We could really feel some significant pain if we were to start to pull back and come back into this area of price support after that breakout. Now, if we take a look at our SPY, also new record highs yesterday, stretching up there, but ran into just a little bit of difficulty pushing on through, and as you can see, faded back here yesterday, leaving us with maybe a little concern in that pattern. It's certainly not a bearish pattern at all. Maybe you might be able to call it a dark cloud cover, but no particular worries here at the moment. If those bears can continue to find inspiration, what we need to see is that little area of support break. Then we can push on down, start testing some of these areas down in here. And of course, as we pull back in these gaps and things that have to be filled, there could be some substantial moves if for some reason those bears do decide to attack and a profit-taking wave comes into the market. Now, if we take a look at the bullish side of things, if those bulls find inspiration, I see that very easy potential that we could push up here, attack that all-time high that we had at the open yesterday, and see some new record highs with blue sky above there in the SPY. And then, of course, if we look at our QQQ also had a little bit of trouble after setting new record highs yesterday, starting to look a little bit more like a consolidation forming here in that chart. But you could also see that possibility if the bears were to push here, breaking down below yesterday's low, then we might start pushing on back to see if we can test some of these areas of support in the chart. There's a big gap there that could be filled, and then of course right back down here to test that high breakout in the QQQ. So watch that carefully if those bears have something to say today. Now, if the bulls have something to say today and they can push on through, it really isn't all that tough to see breaking that resistance and blue sky high above there in the NASDAQ. And then if we look at IWM, now IWM also had a great day yesterday, really trying to stretch up here, and you can see we're trying to reach this all-time high out here in IWM, up there around 224. Actually 223 would get it good on that. But this morning, seeing just a little bit of bearish pressure coming in here in the pre-market. So if those bears can continue to push and we break through yesterday's low, then I would suggest a pushback here to maybe fill this gap would be the first thing we'd be paying attention to. And if we would push beyond that, we could certainly come down into this area of the chart. So keep a close eye on that, and we'll want to be watching that closely. Now, if the bulls have anything to say here, then if we take a look for those bulls, a push up through here and then attack that all-time high, and then of course up in there, we're going to start stretching up to test that all-time high here in IWM. So keep a close eye on that possibility. Now, if we take a look at our VIX, that big bullish move that we saw in the market yesterday really didn't get a corresponding bunch of love here from our VIX. As a matter of fact, at one point in time yesterday, our VIX was actually moving up slightly, ended up closing pretty much flat. But you can see we didn't get any further progress here on the VIX. So if those bulls can find that inspiration, what we need to do is attack this low here and see if we can break this on down toward this next level, and really starting to get down here into maybe a little bit of complacency area of the market. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration, it's pretty easy to see here. We might push back up here, find some resistance up in this area of the chart. And if we were to break through there, then we start moving on up, and we have that potential. If breaking through here, we could maybe push up and fill a gap here in the VIX. So watch carefully for that if those bears were to come in. And I do suspect if the bears come in any way that we could have a sell-off that could be substantial, and that's just because everyone would be trying to protect their profits here on the day. And I think everyone feels the likelihood that we've kind of over-partied here after the election, and we might catch a little bit of that hangover here soon. Now, if we take a look at our T21-22, which is the 4-week new high, new low ratio, if you, doggone it, push the wrong button. If you take a look at that, now this gives us some hope that there is still some upside opportunity in here. So if those bulls find reason to push here today, they've got a little bit of upside that they could still squeeze out of this market, pushing us up into that bearish reversal zone. But once again, we have extended really a lot of points here very quickly. And if those bears find any reason to push back and profit takers start coming in, well, we certainly have opened up a big opportunity for those bears. They have a lot of room here to move if they choose to do so. And then if we take a look at our T2108, our T2108 had just a slight improvement yesterday. Now, T2108 is a percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average. And even with that big push that we had in the market yesterday, looking at the T2108, you can see it moved up, but it wasn't overly confident in that move up yesterday, which means we had quite a few stocks not moving to the upside or breaking through that 40-day moving average. So we're coming up into some resistance here in the chart. We'll want to pay attention to that. We still have this little bit of a downtrend in here, and you notice we're putting in a little bit of that hooking pattern up here, that possibility if the bears do come into play, then we might start coming back and testing some of these levels here in the chart, pushing on down. But as long as we hold above the 50% area here in the chart, I don't think there's any major concern here. It means the bulls are still in control. And if we take a look at our T2107, our T2107 also showing, whoops, that's T2101. T2107 also showing just a little teeny tiny gain here yesterday. Percentage of stocks above the 200. Once again, kind of testing some resistance here in the chart. And if we can break through here, we might be able to reach on up. This is where we get super frothy in T2107, is up here around this 65 area where we run into kind of an extreme overbought situation in the market. Now, if the bears were to find some reason to push here, there's really nothing to fear here in T2107. We've got some good support levels in this chart that could grab a hold, and we're still well above this 50% area here in the chart. So bulls are definitely in control here. And then if we look at that T2101, well, we're continuing to see that breadth expand here to the upside as all of these companies are coming out from under their corporate buyback restrictions, and I think corporate buybacks are really starting to have an impact here in this rally to the upside with that big push going up. So watch that carefully here. We may continue to extend this to the upside today. If we take a look at our economic calendar here for today, well, our economic calendar, we've got not a whole lot to worry about here today. As you can see, we've got a bunch of bond settlements. We're going to get the NFIB Small Business Optimism Index. They're looking for that to come in at 93.7, up from 91.7. Actual came in at 93.7, up from 91.7 on the consensus. So we're seeing some improvement in the small business optimism here. We've got Treasury buyback announcement going on, some bond auctions in here to be paying attention to, and then a couple of Fed speakers. So really light day. But remember, we're going to soon be thinking about this number on Wednesday, that CPI number. And of course, we got several Fed speakers in here tomorrow as well to be paying attention to. So keep an eye on that for tomorrow. It's not going to be any better on Thursday with jobless claims, and then we're going to hit that PPI, and we've even got Jerome Powell speaking in here on Thursday. So watch those upcoming events. Could have some significant impact in the market condition. And just note that Europe had a little bit of trouble with their numbers showing their inflation actually increased last month. So watch that carefully. If we were to get some kind of worry like that, and the bonds are indicating that there's a problem here, then we could really see the market throw a little bit of a tantrum. So I can't say that's going to happen. I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying watch carefully for that possibility if that number were to come in hotter than expected. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, oh, you know what? We probably better take a look at earnings today. Earnings are pretty substantial. There's quite a few here for the day. What I'm going to suggest you do is you go back to the morning blog, click that link below the title of the video, go back to the morning blog where you can catch that full list of notables. But we've got stocks like Home Depot reporting today, this morning. Had a nice little pop-up here beating on the top and bottom line, but it is fading back because they're still suggesting the consumers are being really picky and not spending freely. So watch that carefully. This could end up being a high point. We're also going to hear from stocks like Mosaic here this morning. We've got ONON reporting today. We're going to hear from SE, SHO, TME, and Tyson is another one reporting here this morning. So keep an eye on all of these reports this morning. After the bell, we're going to hear from probably some of our most notables are going to be like SWKS. We've got Shop that will be reporting. So keep an eye on those this afternoon. And again, make sure you click that link below the title of the video, taking you back to the morning blog. So let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me this quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up. So you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, well, you know the drill. We talk about it every day. Please click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much, everyone who does take the time to do that. I truly appreciate it. Also, for those of you who share these videos out on your social media feed, that helps a bunch. And also, for those who continue to support the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee link, thank you very much, everyone. Let's take a look at some of these stocks setting up. And keep in mind, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful in this market. Try to remember that there's a lot of volatility still to come this week, and make sure and plan your trades based on your risk and your rules. Never blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. Well, first off, I'm going to start out in the energy sector here. Energy, although we see those oil prices falling, there are a tremendous amount of good bullish patterns setting up in the oil and gas refining area. And just straight up oil producer area of the market. If you take a look at Valero breaking this downtrend, pushing through to the upside. Now, I don't know if this is going to be where the upside trend starts or if it's going to rest a little bit more out here, but I'd watch that closely. This is a very bullish pattern setup to potentially move on higher. If we take a look at stocks like ConocoPhillips, also pressing some resistance here in the charts, been moving up here bullishly. If this can hold this pattern, breaking on through up here, we see stocks like EQT. Oh my goodness, this thing is a monster, running to the upside, breaking through major resistance levels here in the chart. Now, obviously, I wouldn't suggest chasing this, but a little rest or pullback could set up an opportunity there. Watch carefully. There are a lot of these stocks in this sector showing bullish patterns, bullish setups, and coming up through 50-day moving averages, rounded bottom breakout patterns in that oil sector. So watch that closely here in the market. Now, what's interesting is that is occurring while the US dollar continues to get really, really strong. Now, we're seeing those oil prices fall back. So oil prices are declining, but we're seeing oil stocks move up, which would suggest that the commodity, anything commodity when the dollar strengthens should weaken. But what it's suggesting here, maybe in the oil sector, is that it believes demand is going to come back pretty strongly, even though those prices are going down. So keep a close eye on that. I also want to mention natural gas here. Now, natural gas has just been hated big time here in the market, but as you can see, breaking this downtrend in here, I would start keeping a close eye on natural gas. There's still too early to tell on this, but watch this carefully. If this can hold in here, then I'd be looking for that next opportunity to the upside. And you can see it's got work to do. Still got to get back above its 50-day moving average, so there's no rush on this, just a little bit of a heads up to be paying attention to. Let's take a look at some other areas here in the market. I had mentioned Roku yesterday as a potential short, and there you go. They just pushed right on through that resistance like it wasn't even there yesterday. Back up here, testing some recent resistance in the chart. Now, this still has the potential to fail right on back down through. However, if it holds some support in here, then my initial thought in here on that potential blue ice failure pattern would be absolutely wrong. If it pulls back and holds in here, then I would start watching for that upside potential to break through this resistance here in the chart. So watch that carefully, coming up there pretty nicely. Still think Carvana is phenomenal here. Resting just a little bit, showing lots and lots of bullishness, every reason to believe that could continue to move on higher. Take a look at Dave & Buster's in here. Dave & Buster's also great day yesterday, nice little pullback, popping back up. You can see breaking through some resistance in the chart right in here. So every reason to believe Dave and Buster's might be able to find that energy on a bullish wave to push this on through to the upside. Keep a close eye on that. Looking very good overall. Take a look at Stone, STNE, coming up out of this bottom. Now this guy, not really quite ready for prime time yet, but you can see breaking back up through that 50-day moving average. If this can rest back here, I would look for that opportunity there to the upside in Stone. Watch that closely. Gotta love what we're seeing going on here in GLW. Corning still looking good. Resting the last couple of days, but if we can get some bullishness popping through here in the market, every reason to believe that could continue to stretch on higher here and look pretty good. Now on the worrisome side, let's take a look at Apple here. Apple is performing what is called a blue ice failure, where we break the 50-day, rally back up to that 50-day, and then start to see some selling. So keep an eye here on Apple. There is certainly the potential that Apple could fade on through to the downside here. If we're going to see any bearishness come into the market, I would watch Apple here for one of those potentials. And there are other stocks out there that I would be paying attention to along those lines. When we take a look at Microsoft had that good push to the upside here, but we ran into this resistance. Yesterday, we're flirting with giving up this upside trend here. As you can see, overall, we've got a little bit of a down move going here in that chart. So if those bears were to get anything going here, push back down, might be something to be paying attention to. And you can see we're struggling here with the 50-day and the 200-day moving average all at the same time as a potential resistance here. So failure here would not be that hard to see in Microsoft. So keep an eye on that. There are still stocks out there, despite the raging bullishness that we see in this market, are showing some potential weakness, and we'll want to be keeping an eye on those as well. Take a look at Humana here. Humana trying to push back up. Now, I got to give this to the bulls here at the moment. They broke this downtrend in that nice push to the upside. So as they pull back here, watch this area here. If they can hold that higher low, we may actually start coming around to the upside here on Humana. We certainly have done that here on United Health. Big push to the upside here in United Health. Any rest or pullback now would set up that opportunity here in that chart. You've got to continue to keep a look out on all of these airlines. My goodness, the airlines are bullish. We're continuing to push to the upside here in airlines, a little rest and consolidation. Keep an eye on that. If we look at United's very strong. American Airlines setting up for another upside potential move, so keep an eye on that. And if we look at other travel stocks like Carnival Cruise, Carnival looking very strong, RCL looking very strong, so keep an eye on that. If we look at TripAdvisor, it's going the other direction. So I'm not really sure what's happening here. It's kind of an interesting thing. It might be the fact that all of the cruise lines, airlines are moving up just simply because fuel is cheaper. And that is helping them out, while we're seeing things like TripAdvisor not doing so well here. So Expedia, on the other hand, is doing very well. So there's a little bit of confusion in here where this industry is trying to show lots of bullishness in places. Maybe it's just because of the declining energy costs. I'm not exactly sure, but keep a close eye on them. A lot of those are moving. And then I got to continue to mention here AT&T. AT&T continuing to rest in this consolidation pattern. Now, I know it's an old boring. There's not much here to get really excited about, but AT&T has a good, strong dividend, and it has just been restful in here, consolidating out to the trend. So I would be watching for that next opportunity for that to maybe extend. And last but not least, I've got to mention some of these pay system stocks. My goodness, SQ. Now I have a bias in this. I am holding SQ. I am holding PayPal. Both of those had really good days yesterday, pushing to the upside. I would expect a little bit of rest or consolidation coming in here, but man, oh man, did they get some love in here. So a little rest or consolidation, little pullback in here. I wouldn't want to chase this move, but watch that carefully. Something has changed dramatically here in these stocks. So keep a close eye on them. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Thanks so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. I hope you have a profitable day, and I will see you right back here Wednesday morning. And as always, wish you all the very best. Take care, everyone.